the U.S. Senate and the Committee on Environment and Public Works had a recent hearing on the need to reduce methane emissions from landfills. And the White House put out a plan in 2021 that was the White House methane plan. And unfortunately, in that plan, they relied upon voluntary action by the landfill industry to enhance methane recovery. And, the incentives aren't quite right to make that happen. So what started to happen is increasingly there are nonprofits such as the Rocky Mountain Institute. The Environmental Defense Fund just announced a joint effort with Google to launch a satellite that's detecting methane emissions. The nonprofits are starting to recognize the need to drive methane emission reduction. And the Rocky Mountain Institute in particular, I think, has been advocating in Washington to pay attention to this issue. So during that hearing, we never met with Senator Markey, even though we're a Massachusetts-based company. He was well aware of LoCI and talked about our impact. And to give you an idea on those 50 projects we're now operating, we've reduced methane emissions over the last 5 years by more than 4 million metric tons. And most people can't relate to what that means, but that's the equivalent of taking about 850,000 passenger vehicles off the road for a year. And thinking of it in another way, it's the amount of CO2 that a forest would absorb in a year if the entire state of Connecticut was covered by a forest. So it would be 5 million acres worth of forest absorbing CO2. So that gives you an idea of the impact of a relatively small number of projects in a relatively short time period. And Senator Markey was aware of that. He called out that this small early stage company based in Wareham, Massachusetts has reduced methane emissions by 4 million tons of CO2 equivalent, and that number is spot on. So I think he was the Rocky Mountain Institute. I'd probably given him some background on LoCI, and we were very appreciative that he recognized the work that we're doing.